Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, this Halloween weekend, you're either excited or bracing yourself for fireworks in your area. Well, an impromptu fireworks display sparked last night along Highway 1 near Hope after a collision involving a trailer carrying a load of fireworks. We'll hear about what happened and ask you, what do you think of fireworks this time of year? Plus, after 12:30, Brian Minter is all about showstoppers on the ground, and he'll have tips to protect our gardens in this cold weather. He'll take your questions as always. I'm Michelle Eliot. Welcome to BC Today. Thanks for joining us on CBC Radio 1, live streaming on CBC Gem, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. At around 10 o'clock last night, according to police, there was a collision between two trucks near Highway 1, close to Hope. Now, one of them was towing a trailer loaded with fireworks. It caught on fire, and the fireworks went off, causing an impromptu show in the sky. The two drivers were taken to hospital with minor injuries. And Ryan Kuhn was driving along the highway and caught the display on video. Here's some of his video. That's part of a video caught by Ryan Kuhn. Here he is now describing what he saw to CBC. We'll have that tape for you. There's some technical difficulties with a clip of Ryan Kuhn describing what he saw as he drove along Highway 1 near Hope. And he took that video that we just showed you and played for you on the radio there. It is a dramatic reminder that fireworks season is here. And with that comes the fierce debate among people who love them and people who loathe them. Fireworks have been a mainstay for celebrating Halloween in the Lower Mainland for years. Historians have suggested it's a particular mashup of British Guy Fawkes Night and Chinese Lunar New Year traditions. But safety and noise concerns have caused many municipalities around BC to ban fireworks, while others have strict rules around their use. We're asking you, what do you think of fireworks this time of year? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can email bctoday@cbc.ca. Well, the city of Vancouver banned fireworks on November 1st, 2020. And here to tell us more about that, we have Dave Mears, Assistant Chief with the Community Safety Division with the Vancouver Fire Department. Dave, good afternoon.
Hi, Michelle.
Thanks so much for joining us. Take us back to November 2020. I recall all the discussion around it. What was behind that decision to ban fireworks in Vancouver?
Yeah, thanks very much. I think behind the fireworks ban, there was a lot of lobbying on the part of Vancouver Fire and Rescue to try and educate City Council on the amount of fires and incidents and dollar loss that we were having at every Halloween season. So it took a few years of lobbying, and then this actually finally, I believe it was Councillor Pete Fry who put this motion forward, and then it was passed, like you said, November 1st, 2020. We were very much in favor of the ban just based on our experience with suppression firefighting and the toll this was taking on citizens and houses and structures in the city. So we were very much in favor and very happy when it finally came to pass.
What is that toll? What were your concerns?
Before I became a fire inspector, that was about 8 years ago, I was in the fire hall in the east side of Vancouver for about 23 years as a suppression firefighter. And Halloween was always one of our busiest nights of the year, if not the busiest night. So our crews would respond to numerous fires, structure fires, vehicle fires. One year we had a bus that we lost. I believe it was a transit bus. It was just something that we feel as firefighters, it was just not a really great, it was just contributing to so many fires and incidents that we felt that the ban was appropriate.
Is there perhaps a middle ground, I wonder? Well, tell me, first of all, how successful that's been. Have you seen a reduction in the use of fireworks, or are people still letting them off without getting caught?
We have, Michelle. We've seen a reduction, absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of background on the amount of fires, since we've been kind of tracking this since around 2007, when we brought in a new records management system, and we've gone from a high of I think 41 fires, like structure fires in a year, down to 15 in 2022. And these have ranged in dollar loss from 1.3 million, that was in 2007, down to $6,000 last year. So immediately after the ban, we had our dollar loss was $70,000. So, and previous to that, in 2020, our dollar loss was $408,000. So what we're seeing is a dramatic decline in the amount of fires and incidents that we're having on Halloween, but it's taking a little bit of time. And I really feel like, personally, how I feel about this is it's no different than when a smoking ban came in. It takes a cultural shift to for people to kind of adapt to the change. So yes, we're still seeing fires, we're still seeing fireworks being set off, but the ban is helping, and our statistics are actually showing that.
Okay, and so there is a hodgepodge of rules around different municipalities. We see in Burnaby, they're actually having an event that will have fireworks at Central Park, and in others, West Vancouver is going to ban it this year. They've just voted to do that, and in other municipalities, you have to get a permit. What do you think of those kinds of rules? Is there a way, perhaps, to have sanctioned fireworks this time of year?
Yeah, and we have an actual permitting system for it in Vancouver, and lots of other municipalities do as well. I was just talking to a fire chief friend of mine in Port Moody, and they're actually
Right.
moving to ban the sale of them next year as well, but also put a permit system in place, I think probably somewhat like Vancouver's, with very stringent rules around them. So,
Okay.
you know, there's still ways for people to do this, but they need to have an actual pyrotechnics certificate, or someone who has one. You need to apply and get a permit through our license, or through our office. You need to have a fire safety plan. You need to have insurance. So there are a lot of strict parameters for, you know, with regards to safety around the use of fireworks in the city. And I think this is something that we see most municipalities moving towards this, either an outright ban or fairly strict permitting around them.
Okay. And, we talked about losses, but, thankfully in this case with a truck, just minor injuries were seen among the two drivers involved in the collision. What about injuries? What is the extent of injuries you saw before November 2020?
Yeah, unfortunately, Michelle, I don't have a lot of information on that. I've pulled all this information from our fire investigators, that they're investigating a fire after the fact, and then they do an investigation as to how it happened, the cause and determination, and then they attach a dollar loss to it. I do have a report of one person lost an eye to a Roman candle in 2014. Other than that, I don't have hard data on injuries, I'm afraid.
Okay. My guest is Dave Mears, Assistant Chief with the Community Safety Division of the Vancouver Fire Department. And as we are heading into the Halloween weekend and Halloween next week, asking you how you feel about fireworks in your area, or fireworks this time of year. Our numbers, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Karen is joining us from Victoria. And in Victoria, are they allowed where you live, Karen?
Hi. Fireworks are allowed in a variety of municipalities in Victoria and around. But, and in some cases, yes, as Dave was saying, you need a permit. And there are certain rules you have to follow to let them off. Unfortunately, you can buy fireworks from roadside vendors or people that just bring them in. And they're, as the Esquimalt fire chief was saying also, that enforcement is a huge problem. They're stretched thin. All police services are stretched thin, and by the time they're reported, the evidence is gone. I'm not in favor of fireworks for a number of reasons. Where they're produced, primarily in China and Far East and South China, they pollute the environment there with the chemicals that they use. There's, as we know, sketchy work conditions for people producing them. When they're brought here, not only the footprint of the shipping, but when they're brought here and set off, all of those chemicals are released into the atmosphere, sometimes drifting over and into the ocean. They scare animals. That's wildlife and pet animals, disorienting birds, killing birds, and they also are disruptive and to many people now who have PTSD. And as we welcome more Canadians from war-torn countries, I think there's a sensitivity we have to have to these things that sound like bombs and fire from weapons. I know my mother lived through the Second World War, and she never liked fireworks because it reminded her it brought back into clear memory the night her house was bombed.
Oh, my goodness.
Near Berlin. And, I think we just have to have a much more sensitive approach about how we celebrate and, the impacts on the environment, animals, and other people.
And people, like your mom. Karen, thank you so much for the call.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of discussion, I know, in Victoria about that as well. And a local MP has been promoting a petition for some bans around fireworks too. Karen, thank you so much for the call. Let me just go back and wrap up with my guest, Dave Mears from the Vancouver Fire Department before I go to Colin. Our number again is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Let us know what you think of fireworks this time of year. And Dave, I'll just wrap with you on that question of enforcement. I haven't seen any of those roadside vendors in the Vancouver area, but I remember seeing them before, certainly. Does that make it difficult when you're next to a city like Burnaby where it is allowed? What is enforcement like to ensure that those numbers keep going down?
Yeah, great question, Michelle. Thanks for that. So you're very right. We can't really, we only have jurisdiction over the city of Vancouver. So other municipalities can make their own laws and pass their own bylaws and things. We can only deal in Vancouver. If we get reports of someone selling fireworks at a roadside stand, we can actually confiscate the fireworks. We can fine them. We have municipal tickets now that we can issue for the sale and possession of fireworks or discharging fireworks. They're $1,000 each. And any of our fire inspectors can issue those to someone selling or lighting off illegal fireworks. To Karen's point, it is a little bit difficult to enforce when we have the whole city to kind of keep an eye on Halloween night. We will have inspectors out in different teams patrolling the city and responding to 311 calls that come in about people discharging fireworks. And we will be able to, again, respond, hopefully confiscate the fireworks and issue municipal tickets when we find this. So it's always a little bit difficult because it can be a little bit of a game of cat and mouse, but we will have inspectors out on the streets and we'll be doing our best to enforce the bylaw.
Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Take care. Dave Mears is Assistant Chief with the Community Safety Division of the Vancouver Fire Department. Let's take another call from Colin, who's waiting in Vancouver. What do you think of the ban on fireworks in Vancouver, Colin?
Well, for me, I'm a person who has lost eyesight over the years, and now I'm pretty much blind. And I have also really, really loved Halloween. And so years ago, when I used to go out on Halloween, even though I couldn't see the decorations and what was around me, I could hear this entire sound field of fireworks near and far away and all the little neighborhood parks, around where I live. And it was amazing. It just gave me through sound, a way to connect with the special energy of the evening, and it just created a whole kind of sonic atmosphere that helped me feel part of the whole festivity. And I remember when that ban came into effect, and I went out, as I usually do on Halloween, and I sometimes walk around with a friend, and everything just sounded so quiet and so empty, and it's like Halloween became kind of invisible for me. So for me, it's a real loss. And also during that time when I was losing my eyesight, I was able to see some of the lights, some of the flashes, some of the movement of the fireworks. And, while there was very little else I saw in my day-to-day life, that was really, really special. So I miss it terribly. I really, really do.
I hear that the lament in your voice, Colin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate hearing from you. What do you think then? Is there a way to find a compromise, perhaps? Or?
Well, I acknowledge all the considerations and concerns that are brought up. But I think, for me, when I think about the sort of neighborhood aspect of it, I really liked that, around parks, families would gather together and they would, maybe pool resources, and they have a little kind of fireworks show in the neighborhood. And I thought that was really, really neat, because a lot of the trick-or-treaters would kind of gather around, and they would, know that the fireworks would happen at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever it was. And so if there would be a way for that to still occur and provide some kind of special energy, and so that, that there is a possibility for just regular people to still kind of participate. I'm all for safety, but it's, rather than to take it out of everyone's hands. And so that's one of the things that I really like about Halloween, is it's such a participatory holiday for kids and adults alike. And so, so that's, in terms of a compromise, I'm not sure if that would answer your question, but I would see some possibility with that.
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much for the call.
You're very welcome. Thank you for taking my call.
That is Colin in Vancouver. And you heard some comments as well earlier about how fireworks can affect our pets. Many studies have shown wildlife are being affected as well. And the BC SPCA has been speaking out for many years about the dangers of fireworks, saying that they see a rise in cats, dogs, cows, and horses who will run away from the noise, risking injury or even death this time of year. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that in just a moment. And I'll put out the numbers again. What do you think of fireworks this time of year? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And for more on the effect on animals, Elizabeth Melnick joins us. She's owner of Elizabeth's Wildlife Rescue in Abbotsford. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi there.
And can you tell us more? What are the rules in Abbotsford?
Well, I'm not really too sure, because I still hear the fireworks. I hear them long before Halloween, and I hear them long after. So I'm really not too sure on that.
You can't tell anymore.
No.
And tell me more then about the effect on pets and wild animals.
Okay, there's a lot of factors here. First of all, the birds, with a few exceptions, have very limited vision at night. So if something spooks them and they've already roosted for the night, they will fly into buildings haphazardly. If it's a mammal, they can run. I mean, they're running because they're scared, and they're not aware of where they're running to. They're just running. And with that comes hit by cars, collisions with buildings. And then, of course, that leaves them vulnerable to, if they're stunned, for example, in the morning, that leaves them vulnerable to predators, because now it's an easy target. It is actually very distressing for these animals.
And for our dogs, I grew up in the Philippines, where for New Year's Eve, there would be a lot of fireworks, really just about everywhere. And my dog would just rush in, really in a panic, and run into the bathroom and stay there for the rest of the night. What about our pets? What should we know about protecting our pets then?
Well, that's a tough one too, because I don't know, it's always hard to find a corner where they can't hear it. So it is very distressing all the way around. All they want to do is run out, and it doesn't matter where, but just run. and that's where all the
Right.
problems.
So you don't really know where what to do. And what do you think of some of the places where they have, rules? I know you said you don't even know what the rules are in Abbotsford because you still do hear
Right.
them in
I do.
in some places like
Yeah.
we heard about in Vancouver. You have to get a
hmm
permit and all of that. Does that make a
Yes.
difference?
Um, Maybe if it's controlled in a park, but otherwise, just haphazardly up and down the street, that is a problem. And because we have the wildlife center here, I do stress out about this more so because I worry about the animals. They can't get out of their cages. They need to be in there for their own until they're well enough to go. And so that becomes an added stressor as well, because they cannot get out.
Hmm.
And so you do worry about that for sure.
Okay, and we just checked as well. The use of fireworks and use of fireworks are illegal in Abbotsford, and so there are
Right.
rules around it. And as you
Yes.
mentioned, though, you are still hearing it. We have an email from
Yeah.
Palinka who writes, "In this day and age, can we not have some sort of generated light show?"
Mm.
Or some new tradition honoring the environment. And I know there are some places where they're thinking about, using drones, for example, to create that light show rather than fireworks. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of it, but if it's going to be nice and quiet, that might be part of the solution for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take some calls once again as we ask you what your thoughts are on fireworks this time of year. And Carol joins us now from Richmond, and Carol is a city councillor there. Hi there. This is Councillor Carol Day.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for talking about this. I think it's an important subject.
Tell us about what's going on in Richmond.
Yeah, so in Richmond, we do have a fireworks ban. We don't want little kids blowing off the ends of their fingers, and so we don't allow this or residential use of fireworks. But on Halloween night at a specific time, we have a nice fireworks display right in the center in Mineru Park where it's safe, and it's a...
Carol, are you there? Go ahead, please. We just cut out there for a second.
No worries. Yeah, so the fire department puts on a fireworks display right in the center of Richmond, and it's under complete control. It's 100% safe, and the kids get a chance to have the excitement of Halloween. And, I think that it's good to have, protection for the public, but at the same time, we got to have some fun, too.
You gotta have. So how long have you been doing this for in Richmond?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's 20 years now.
20 years. Now, Mineru Park, are there not a lot of wildlife there?
Not really, no. Like the way they do it, I think they do it. I'm not sure if they do it in the middle of the track, but it's done in such a way that it's away from trees, it's away from animals, and because it's scheduled, everybody knows exactly when it's going to happen, so they can prepare for it.
Okay. I assume you are planning to attend. I bet you are. Carol, thank you so much for the call. Nice to hear from you in Richmond.
You're more than welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That is Councillor Carol Day joining us from Richmond. And Elizabeth, one last word of advice perhaps from you for people who do take care of animals, what they should be watching out for, what they can try to do to protect their animals in the coming few days.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a hard question because I'm not sure how you can. I mean, you can't put earmuffs on a sparrow, so it's a little bit going to be a little difficult. You just wish that it wasn't happening to the amount that it is happening here, and that's about all I can say because it's really hard. I mean, I'm not sure how you would protect the ones we have in care. I'm not sure how you would protect the ones that have already roosted for the night.
Yeah.
And now when they are scared away from that, because of their limited vision as well, they're going to not find the roost that they had before if it's a bird. And like I say, there's so many hazards that go along with them just running out.
Well, thank you very much for the caveats you've shared with us today. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Melnick is owner of Elizabeth's Wildlife Rescue in Abbotsford, where, yes, the use of fireworks and firecrackers are illegal in the city of Abbotsford. It's 12:30, 1:30 in the Mountain Time Zone. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Eliot. Very nice to be with you this afternoon. And coming up, Brian Minter along the way, and he'll talk about protecting our gardens from the cold. I'm sure you felt it today in the last few days. Brian Minter joins us just after the CBC News Update with Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. The provincial government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Taloman Nation. The agreement is to co-manage the site of a former village. Taloman people were forced from the village in the 1880s, and the nearby river was dammed to provide power to a pulp and paper mill. A U.S. fisherman reported missing nearly 2 weeks ago is in stable condition after being found floating in a life raft off the west coast of Vancouver Island. He was spotted by a Canadian fishing boat yesterday and taken to shore by the Canadian Coast Guard. Another man is still missing. The two were on a 13-meter vessel that left port on the Olympic Peninsula October 12th. And there was a dramatic light show after a crash last night on Highway 1 outside Hope. Police say a pickup truck and a semi collided, causing the bigger truck's cargo of fireworks to ignite. Video taken by the people at the scene show fireworks exploding high in the sky above the highway as continuous pops and bangs are heard. The RCMP say the highway was closed eastbound for about an hour until the fireworks eventually stopped. And now the forecast on the north coast, clearing this afternoon with a high of 9, highs to -2 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Peace. In the central interior, sunny with a high of +1, highs from -2 to +3 with sunshine in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, sunny with a high of 4. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, lots of sunshine this afternoon with highs up to 8 degrees. I'll have more local news at the top of the hour. Now back to Michelle with BC Today.
Do you have a Halloween costume planned?
I don't. I'll be at work.
You'll be, this is on Tuesday.
On Tuesday?
Yes, of course. I'll be here.
I finish later than you do. So by the time I get home, it's kind of winding down.
I was going to wear a big cardigan and the letter B, and I was going to be Cardi B.
Oh, that's adorable. My best costume ever, my wife and I went as Fuzzy Dice. So it was big. Actually, I'm wearing fuzzy today.
Just put some polka dots on there.
Yeah, big square cubes with, anyways.
That is so cute.
Good.
I think you should revive that.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you.
It was a lot of work.
Wearing that on Tuesday.
You can't really get through doors either. So.
Especially with two of you.
That's right.
Shouldering each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good image. Rob, thank you.
You're welcome.
Robert Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Welcome back. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Eliot. Very nice to have you with us either on radio, 88.1 FM in Metro Vancouver, live streaming too on CBC Gem, cbc.ca/BC, or on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. It is Friday. It's a cold one around the province, and our gardening columnist Brian Minter is here to help us prep our gardens for those colder temperatures and the coming winter. As always, he's also taking your gardening questions. So you can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email your question to bctoday@cbc.ca. And master gardener and horticulturalist Brian Minter, our longtime gardening columnist on the show, joins me now from Chilliwack and Country Garden Limited. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you.
Oh, Michelle, hi. Great to talk to you. And by the way, the frost is on the pumpkin. Okay, no question about that. Speaking of Halloween. And I'm so glad we're talking about this because we don't want so many folks to lose plants that are precious to them. And there's a few things that we really need to be thinking about because, in our nursery, a lot of pots are actually frozen. It's not just the frost. The things are frozen coming out of it during the day. And so now, and this is Mother Nature's indicator, the fact that we need to now get ready for a different season. And one of the great things about having a frost is so many plants keep on growing, trees in particular, and by having a bit of frost, it toughens them up, hardens them up, and they're going to be far better shape in spring because of that. So that's one thing. So a list here, a quick list, Michelle. Number one, if you still have bulbs in the ground, guess what? They've got to come out right now. I would say the dahlias in particular. So many people are growing dahlias, and they're gorgeous right now, but they've got to go now. And the Canada lilies too. That's the other last hanger on in terms of bulbs out there. Those should be carefully lifted and stored away, cleaned up, stored away, no washing them off. And those are great things. A lot of the tender plants that, okay, you're bragging about them being out in your patio and it's October, almost November, but now they've got to come in. Any geraniums, any lantanas, any of the new hottie today is the mandevillas that look so great. They've got to come in. Anything that is tender in terms of a hardy annual is what we call them, really must come in. And any tender perennials as well. We have a lot of plants that are perennial, but not very hardy. Some of the beautiful salvia, gorgeous right now, big hummingbird attractors, got to come in as well, at least cut back, and they've got to be stored away, which is very, very important. And the other thing I think that is important in the garden as well, in our food garden, many of our particular leafy vegetables, if they're not winter varieties, are going to be frozen and trying to protect them. Two ways of doing that, Michelle. One is lift them and put them inside and whatever you want to do to store them for a longer period of time. But the insulate cloth I keep talking about all the time. It's like we put over to protect our plants from insects in the spring, but it's a heavy-duty insulate available in many garden stores. It's like a frost blanket, and that can go over a lot of plants and protect them. Our root crops, though, in terms of wanting something to enjoy in November, December, our beets, our carrots, our turnips, and rutabagas, and all those root crops in the garden, they can stay there if you're a little concerned about how. And I would say anything below -5 to -8 Celsius, then I'd worry a little bit. But put some mulch around them if you're in a little colder area. That's great as well. And once we start getting frost, the winter squash really should be harvested now. And remember, the squash and anything you want to save for a longer period of time, just about a 10% bleach solution, and just take a cloth and wrap right around it and just brush them off carefully with bleach solution. That kills the bacteria that sometimes start the deterioration of the outside brim. So basically get those inside just from the frost-free area. And pretty much those are the most important things you want to think about right now. We haven't had severe frost yet, so we've got some time for anything that you're worried about. But these are the key things that I'd love to see folks working on right now. And it is really important. And I know the containers out there, the coleus, the containers, I see them still, and begonias have been really good. But their time is nigh. And if you want to replace them, yes, with some of the hardy winter broadleaf evergreens and broadleaf perennials and some of the beautiful grasses and winter pansies and so much more. Now's the time to be doing that as well. So just a quick checkup, not serious stuff just yet, but let's take those 3 precautions.
Yeah, check your calendar. I have no problem with harvesting that squash and just, consuming it as soon as possible. Great reminders. That's a good list, Brian. Thank you so much. Brian Minter, Master Gardener from Country Garden Limited, our longtime gardening columnist here on the show, talking about how to prepare our gardens and what plants and vegetables do need to come in as we get into colder weather. Also taking your calls. If you have a question for Brian, you can dial up 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And Howard is joining us in Ladner with a question about a fig tree. Hi, Howard.
Hello. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
This is for a friend. I help her sometimes with her gardening, and we're wondering when is the best time to trim or prune a fig tree. We're here in Ladner. It's a mature tree, decades old, very prolific. The fruit, it's the type that ripens to a dark purple, and there are 2 harvests. I think late spring and in the autumn. There's been a lot this autumn. So, but now the tree is showing its.
You're making me envious, Howard.
Okay.
It's quite a quite a tree, but she would like to trim it for size. So at the top, and then the extension of the branches is quite long, and then some lower ones which are a nuisance. So sure. We've pruned it in the past at different times, but we'd like to know when the best time to do it would be.
Howard, good question. And other people are probably thinking the same thing. Not now. We're being figs over the past few years, and we've had a very horrific winter last year in terms of the coastal areas with the cold. El Nino is supposed to change that this year, but it won't kick in until later. So just be cautious, but no pruning of figs. The only thing I would do with figs right now is pick off any of the small fruits that are starting to form, get rid of all of those. That delays the fruiting for next year. So clean that up, leave everything alone till we start seeing growth in the spring. When the new growth starts to come, Howard, that's when you can prune your fig. And remember, leave some of the newer shoots because they will form on the tips of the branches. So don't prune everything. Get your main plant back to the shape you want to have it, but leaving other branches so you'll get new figs forming on the tiny new shoots, Howard. So wait till spring, till the new growth begins.
Great. So like when it starts to leaf out, or just when we see the buds?
When it starts to leaf out, the plant is alive and well, and it'll recover from pruning more quickly when you do it at that time.
Great. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, here's another successful fig year for you next year, Howard. Thank you very much. Setting you up there. That's Howard in Ladner with a question about a fig tree. And Brent is on the line now from East Vancouver. And Brent, you're also asking for a friend, aren't you?
Yes, I'm asking for a friend. I'd like to say hi to Marty in Christina Lake. She was invaded by just an incredible number of stink bugs in her garden last year, and it decimated her garden badly. And she asked me to look into it and see if I could find out some kind of a treatment she could put in or something she could do to keep it from happening again this upcoming season.
Yeah, Brent, that is a tough one. There's no question. And we're finding the best success there is actually a garlic spray you can use. They're going to disappear pretty quickly right now, and you don't want them inside your home, of course. But a garlic spray has been very, very effective from many people, and that is available. Very few companies put it out, but try and track that down. And we found it anecdotally exceptionally good in terms of the marmorated stink bug. Absolutely.
Okay, and she should just apply that to the affected plants?
Yep. When you see them, when they first start showing up, use a spray. It's organic, essentially, very pungent in terms of odor, but we have found it very, very effective. There's the company that does, I don't know the name of the company right now, that does put it out. It's a little hard to find, but you can Google that to be able to track it down. But again, very effective, Brent.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you and Marty in Christina Lake. Thank you very much, Brent in East Vancouver, with the question about how to get rid of stink bugs. Apparently a stinky spray will do the trick. Rita is up next in the Slocan Valley. Hi, Rita.
Hello.
What's
Hi,
your
Rita.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question? It's about a peach tree.
Yeah, I have a peach tree with old stalk from a very old tree a very old neighbor gave to me. The main stalk grew peaches for a few years and died back, but a lovely little tree grew out from the stalk. It's not a grafted tree. It's a really old peach tree. The problem with the low branches on this and an apple tree I also had is the snow here gets quite deep, and it ices over, and then it melts and breaks the lower branches as the snow drops, and it happens over and over, and a lot of damage to a young tree. And I wonder if there's any way of protecting those lower branches. Should I surround it and tie it somehow, or what do you suggest?
No, the tree's out in the open, right, Rita? It's out in the open. There's not up against, it's valued against the fence or anything.
No.
Yeah, I think honestly, what I would take a look at is supporting. I would take like a 1x1 piece of board or 2x2 for the smaller branches, and very much like you support heavy branches with fruit on them. Just put a support under them. And here's the rule. And the one thing that a lot of us are not doing is pruning our fruit trees hard enough. Some varieties prune back about a third each year because the idea is to get brand new growth coming out during the season. During your growing season, anything that grows longer than about 16 to 18 inches is going to be a fruit-bearing branch for the next year. So essentially a harder pruning, and if you get young branches that are quite supple, that actually bend as opposed to being stiff and break, that's the thing. But honestly, I would put some supports, just notch a little support of a 1x1 or 2x2 stake underneath. Just give it that extra support at that critical station, because all along that branch, even if the tip breaks off, you're going to get fruit spurs developing. So that's all you need to do. I think just be very, very careful, but the harder pruning to get younger, more supple branches, and supporting those would probably be the easiest way to make sure you don't lose that precious fruit.
These are all new branches from this sprout that grew up, and there's like 10 or 15 branches.
Yeah. How long are they, Rita?
They're about 3 feet, 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah, which is good. So again, and a gentleman who just got back from Japan showed me pictures of their bonsai trees in the parks. They put thousands and thousands of stakes under these trees to support the branches so they won't break in winter. Same principle. And you don't need thousands, but you just need enough for some of your main branches to put that support underneath. So even with the snow, put it proportionally to the branch where you know it's going to be okay. That's all you need to do. Give it a try. A little bit of work, but and you can use the same stakes year after year. But I know this will make a big difference for them.
Yeah, give them that support. Rita, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for the call from the Slocan Valley.
Where we got our first snow.
You just got your first snow?
Last night, yeah.
Last night. Oh, how much did you get?
Well, I'm still in the old measurements, but, several inches anyway. It's nothing.
Okay, get to that tree then.
Okay.
Thanks so much for the
Rita.
call. Yeah, snow in end of October. There you go. I know the island got some too the other day. Lots of people on the line for Brian Minter and lots of emails as well. Mary is writing us, and this is about the frost as well, Brian. So Mary writes, I planted my garlic in early October last year, but some were damaged in the November freeze as the plants had grown about 4 inches by then. What can I do to avoid that this year?
Well, I talked to some growers right across the province, even up north. Again, planting them a little bit later will delay when you harvest in July or early August. But normally we always talk about the first day of fall. Late September is when you would plant them. Getting to October is still okay, but you want to have enough time for those cloves to be able to develop a nice root system. But generally, with the El Nino current, which is everybody says we're going to have that, I think it's not going to be bad a winter. Nothing wrong with garlic being green over the winter on top. And I think the severity that we're not going to have this year will make all the difference. I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Some confidence there for you, Mary. Thank you for the email. bctoday@cbc.ca is where you can send your question for Brian, or you can call us 1-800-825-5950. Let's head to the Southern Okanagan now, and May is joining us from Vernon. Hi, May.
Hi.
Thanks so much for calling. And you are actually calling about container plants, right?
Right. Yeah. I usually email Brian, but I thought I'd try the radio today. So
Absolutely.
Hi, Brian. Okay. Yeah, we have got some blueberry bushes from Armstrong, and they were in the 1-gallon pots, and we want to transplant them over into larger pots to put out in the yard. We were going to keep them in the basement over the winter and then put them out in the spring. And then also we're getting some blackberry bushes in pots, and I want to put those out in the spring, but we have lots of raspberries. I want to know how far apart we should keep our fruit so we don't get cross-pollination.
Yeah, I don't think, May, thank you. I don't think there's any problem in those particular fruits in terms of cross-pollination. You're going to be absolutely fine. And so number one is, how cold is your basement? Because we don't want them to start growing over the winter. Is it really cool, May?
We've got part of it in a cool room, and then the other part is heated.
Oh, okay. Well, keep them away from the heat. And but the other thing, what I would do, if you've got a protected spot on the south or west side of your home, where you've got a bit of a soil area there, sometimes what I would do would just simply bury the pots. The small ones you have right now, I would just bury them in the ground and leave them outside. They'd be much happier. They'd be dormant. And blueberries are about as hardy as a peach. The zone 5 for all of those would be absolutely no problem. And that's kind of where you are. So rather than have to fuss with them and water them and care for them, I would bury them in their pots right outside, leave them outside for winter, just out of the harsh winter winds. And I think you're going to be absolutely fine. If you're a little concerned about if it does happen to get cold, just put some fir hemlock bark mulch or sawdust around them. But it'll be much better in the plants and much better for you. Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we do have a southern exposure yard area, so I can easily put them out there.
You can just keep them there.
What a difference for you. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, thank you so much.
May,
thanks, May.
Thank you so much. Brian, that was very good advice. I will move on.
It helps. Yeah.
If people caught that, they might be rolling their eyes at me right now. Arlene is joining us next from Burnaby. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Just a question about Boost BC on a dogwood.
So this is a fertilizer.
Yeah.
What
it
now?
worthwhile?
First of all, how old is the dogwood? It's a good plant in great shape.
25 years old.
Oh, okay. So it's mature. And is the plant doing well?
It's not doing well. I think it had anthracnose, although it was pretty good this year, surprisingly, when the weather was so hot.
Yeah, but
really
it was so
didn't
bad
get much
until April.
watering.
Right. Yeah. So, but do you want to put a dormant spray on it? Is that what you're thinking at this time?
Yes, I do that in the spring. Well, somebody does it for me because it's quite a big tree.
Yeah, we want to use copper, Arlene. Copper is the one to be able to control most of the diseases on your dogwood, just by the way.
Oh, rather than the, sorry, you can hear that everybody in my
spray,
neighborhood has
lime
got a
sulfur and oil.
chainsaw going.
Yeah, I feel much more comfortable with copper. Absolutely.
Okay. So did you get that, Arlene?
Good.
Copper is the best to use?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so the fertilizer boost is not necessarily, it's quite expensive. I don't know if it's expensive for the product, but definitely to have somebody put it down, it's very expensive. And I just wonder if it would be worthwhile.
You know, you ask a very good question, Arlene. You know, what I would do is simply, the bigger thing is just to enrich our soil. And around the drip line of the tree, if you can get something like a really good composted material like sea soil, which is kelp and fish meal and so on, and around the drip line, just work up that soil a wee bit and freshen it. That's really all you need to do. When a tree gets to that size, Arlene, and it's doing not too badly, especially with a year like we had with so much wet weather in the early part of the year, I think you do a copper spray. And if you just enrich the soil a wee bit around the drip line, that's all you need to do. You don't need that extra fertilizer. And a 25-year-old tree, it's pretty much self-sufficient. It's got its own root system. And so all you're doing is improving the soil in which the roots are going to grow and pick up nutrients. And I think that's all you need to do. I don't necessarily need the boost.
Okay, great.
Yeah, there you go, Arlene. Less costly for you there, hopefully, too. Thanks for the call. Yeah, that's Arlene in Burnaby with a question about how to help out her dogwood tree. Shirley is up next now from North Vancouver. Hi, Shirley. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me. I have a question about a PGI hydrangea that I had. It was in my yard, and 2 years ago, I transplanted it to a different site because I wanted to put it in a spot for privacy. And so I never cut it back very much. And it was about 8 feet tall or so. And for the last 2 years, it's set buds beautifully, but they've never opened. And I'm just wondering what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, and quite frankly, that's surprising to me about a PG. It's one of the real tough old plants that just are so reliable. A couple of things I would consider. You've got a very good question here. I would prune back in the spring. I wouldn't do it now. I tidied up in the fall when the leaves are off, just get it kind of tidy. I think I'd prune a little harder. If it's 8 feet tall right now, and I know you want it for privacy and screening, but maybe get back into some of the thicker branches rather than have so many smaller ones on the outside. Fewer, thicker branches is going to give you a stronger, overall better plant. So I would do that pruning in the spring, just kind of before the new growth begins. The other type of thing that really helps is the proper nutrient. And I would put not a lot of nitrogen. I would put something, and I recommend this all the time. It's kind of a semi-organic fertilizer called flower and veg food. It's 10, 15, 19 with the micronutrients.
I do use that. Yeah, that's what I use.
Good for you. That's wonderful. But maybe use it twice. And what I'm getting at, most of those slow release fertilizers are all gone in about 8 to 10 weeks. It's over. And I think give it that second application. And we find that does make a difference because we're growers and we feed consistently in our greenhouses, and adjust the feed for whatever the crops we're doing. And I think that second feed with that higher phosphorus and potash, will help you get stronger branches, but B, really help in the flowering. But I think overall what we're talking about is a pruning issue here, and we need to prune a little bit harder back into the older bud. And I really feel that that'll help you a tremendous amount.
Shirley, thank you so much for your call from North Vancouver. And our last caller today is Michelle in Nanaimo, where I think you did get some snow the other day, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You did. I heard there was some snow in Nanaimo. Okay.
Yeah, well, maybe it was at the north end. So, Brian, thank you very much for doing what you do. I have a very quick question about daffodils. I planted some daffodils a couple of days ago, and it's an area where, of course, the ground was wet because we had had all that wonderful rain. But in the late spring, early and summertime, that area is not going to get very much water. So what happens to those daffodil bulbs? Are they going to be okay if they just sit in quite dry soil?
Okay, thank you very much.
That couldn't be a better question, because you're right. They don't like wet feet, and they grow in Holland and so on, where they grow so many in a reclaimed ocean, type of sandy soil from the North Sea. Sandy soil is the best thing for them, good drainage. But your question is, what about the summertime when it's dry? Perfect. They want to be dry in the summer. They want to lay dormant in the summer. That's the best thing for the bulbs to be able to regenerate and come back year after year after year. So I think everything's good. Try some of the newer varieties of daffodils today. Flower carpet is certainly one I highly recommend, or some of your smaller daffodils too, like tete-a-tete. They're really good at regenerating year after year, and that's what you want. But no, I think for what you're saying, you've got a perfect location. Just maybe improve the dampness in the spring.
Brian, thank you very much. See, you'll be definitely fine. I don't know. I know what's come over me today. Brian, always such a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much for joining us again.
Michelle, just a quick one if I could. The architectural school at UBC have tonight is happening. They're bringing in a special lady from England talking about different types of landscape architecture. And that's happening at Robson Square at the UBC facility tonight. It's such a wonderful event. It's open to everyone, particularly in the landscape and design field. But again, a really important thing for Vancouver and the province.
Brian,
but
thank you.
It's 7 o'clock tonight.
Tonight at Robson Square. Brian Mincher with Mincher Country Garden in Chilliwack. That's it for our show today. Thanks to our team, Melody Jacobson, Rachel Adams, George Baker, Greg Kisser, Mark Fairfield, Jake Costello, Mel Carter, and Mike Hillman. I'm Michelle Eliot. Have a happy Halloween weekend.